Dude, stop! We're live. Welcome back to StarLadder
I-League
Season 3.
StarSeries. Season 3. It's been great. We've had a few good matches today. We've had 2 matches to start off the day in the winner's bracket. Well, the starter's bracket, I guess. We're going to put it that way. At the end of the day, Zalae took it and is going to be facing off against the other winner of the winner's bracket. That is Thijs. We, however, in the loser's bracket have Colento with 6-0. 2 very strong players in their own right, but they've been fighting off against a very stacked round-robin stage, and as a result of that, are on the brink of elimination. So one of them will end up going home as a result of their next loss. So they're in the loser's bracket. They can still climb back up, but it's going to take quite a little bit of work. It's going to be a lot of work. Plus, I feel like they've played against each other before. The lineups have kind of matched against one another, so I feel like the expected outcome is very much set in stone. We just have to play it out and see if somebody can make a difference.
That is true. By the way, Zalae just changed into a chair.
He did. He told me about that a while back. He identified as a chair and has undergone the process of just, surgery, and now he's just a full-time chair.
But he still can't attend a Wonder Woman screening only for women. So
yes,
too bad for him.
Yeah, it's very bad. He's tried, man, like all those protests, but he's just a chair, man. Unless he starts organizing his own chair protests, there's not going to be any room for him on the political arena.
Yeah, he can make a Wonder Woman screen only for chairs, right? I mean, he already has a full cinema with that.
That's right. I like it.
That's
perfect, if no one
right?
goes, that's perfect. He's got his full crowd there. All he has to go is show up.
Yeah,
that's great.
What a plan, man. I'm a genius.
What a fascinating idea. Lothar, with the genius calls, I'm going to tell Zalae. Although he's back to his human form right now. Thijs, on the Paladin Druid Quest Rogue, is getting heavily targeted by Zalae here. Zalae's lineup definitely favored in this exchange here. Zalae on the Murloc Paladin with more one-shots than the norm. Pirate Warrior and the Aggro Druid is going to have a field day, I believe, against the Quest Rogue and even possibly the Jade Druid. So Thijs is going to struggle here.
He will, although we have seen Zalae in the past struggle with his draws. I mean, that's his curse, right? He just draws super badly with his decks, which are meant to be aggressive.
Yeah, it's kind of the trademark of aggro, though. Like, you have decks like Discover Mage that are very much about what your glyph gives you and how you adapt to every situation. In the case of aggro, your opening hand oftentimes dictates how powerful you'll be able to make your game plan. And Zalae, with this hand, does find decent tools. He's got the N'Zoth's First Mate, can bring out the patches right away. The upgrade can also fill in a dead turn later on. The fact that he's got 2 pirates ready to go for Bloodcell Cultist is really important, and he's got the answer to a potential Tidecaller. So, barring Vilefin Inquisitor, I think his hand is looking perfect.
And I'm playing too much Wild. I'm playing too much Wild because I always have this perspective of like, yeah, I'm going to wait with that N'Zoth for that ship's cannon. I'm just going to wrap faces.
Oh, no.
The deck is so different in Wild. Because you often just don't play anything until turn 3. And that's about it. And then you go off with Ship's Cannon, you take advantage of that. But in this case, the Tidecaller is dead! The best
Pirates versus Murlocs. It's funny, right? Because they didn't make an official Pirates versus Murlocs expansion. But this is kind of it. They said it was all about dinosaurs, but honestly, I feel like it's a lot more about Pirates and Murlocs.
Well, I mean, Murlocs, you can argue that maybe Murlocs are kind of like dinosaurs, right? They're just, a different version of, like, dinosaurs are birds, basically, nowadays. I mean, birds are, like, something that was a dinosaur a long time before. Now you have
evolution,
fishes.
At least. You're telling me that theory of, you believe in the theory of evolution, Lothar? But
yes.
What if it's just a theory? What if I told you that it's just a theory?
Well, you can say that, and you can turn also into a chair and have your own Wonder Woman screening. So
I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll make sure I do that soon. With Zalae, my man. Zalae, on the Pirate Warrior, still finds another Bloodcell Cultist. So this guy's hand was not good enough. He had to pick up even more solid 3 drops, and he's got an embarrassment of options here. Cultist is definitely looking like the best one to me, as he is then able to put more pirates on the board and set up a South Sea deckhand, South Sea Captain turn on 4. but we'll see what he opts for.
Well, he checked first for the secret first. I don't blame him for checking that. I mean, if it's an example, Jesus Christ, repentance. You don't want to play a Frothing Berserker into that, like directly. So you want to check for Noble Sacrifice or for Redemption or even for Gateway Coder, because you know that Thijs cannot spare any time. If he has a play that turn, he needs to play it, so he has to be mana efficient. And in this situation, Zalae goes for the South Sea Captain because he knows that Paladin has little to none interaction with minions with 1 HP.
Yeah,
Basically,
I kind of like this line of play. It's actually better than the Cultist, the way you're putting it. I guess the issue with that line of play is that you're sacrificing your South Sea Captain, and I'm not sure if I like sacrificing South Sea Captain when you could just be sacrificing a Cultist instead for the first swing. I still would have favored the Cultist, but I'm guessing he's valuing the damage on a better weapon, perhaps, than this hook. I mean, it's almost kind of outdone its usefulness here. It's almost useless, this little hook. Might be abandoned soon. Well, there's no good curve to do it, though. That's the issue.
yeah. I feel like it has to be the Nagakusa this turn. Even if you forego the additional attack, the attack point, I mean, on the weapon, on the Fury War Axe, I feel like it's still the most important to just get that True Silver Champion off the board.
Sure.
And have a wave through for the Frothing Berserker. Because basically that's what you're probably gonna do next turn, in case your opponent will have an option to clear every single pirate, but that's most likely not possible, so Fury War Axe with Cultist is a lot of damage.
Yeah, so this is the other permutation that Zalae was looking at. There was the potential really to get the Cultist on the weapon and then set up the South Sea Captain deckhand on 4, but he opted to set up a turn 5 Fiery War Axe Cultist to get more value on a better weapon than the hook. So this is going to be a ton of damage represented with that War Axe. More so even with the turn stick he just picked up. He just had Greenskin with the South Sea deckhand he can play next turn if he wants to, which is a ton of potential damage. And as it stands, there's some Keeper Terrain that's in the back of his mind based on this line of play.
Yep. I like it. I like it. And the next turn just still looks really good. If he picks up a Heroic Strike, it works perfectly with the Cultist deckhand. Other than that, he just goes for the Greenskin. Still gets insane synergy. Basically, a better Nagakusa, right? That's about it.
Zalae is winning next turn if he picks up second deckhand or Heroic Strike, I believe. Because he's got his opponent on 11 and he's guaranteed to push at least 9 this turn.
Well, you can deal 9 damage to the opponent's face this turn because you can push with Corsair, deckhand, with the Greenskin, deckhand. You can still play the Corsair on top of that. And I like it. Although you would like to kill the 1/1 because you want to play around Spikers. So you might forego the deckhand and then just attack into the 1/1. I would love to see that. Because the only way your opponent might stop you from dealing the final blow will be the Spikered Steed. So why not just play around it?
Why not just play around it? Yeah, you just guarantee that the opponent cannot possibly stop you. You get punished by what? There's Consecration in the deck that can kill your minions right now if you don't trade any of them away. So that would be one of the worst case scenarios, but it's never as bad as Spikered Steed. So yeah, there's a good argument to use either the weapon or one of the minions into it. Still setting up for a huge damage push. He's got everything he needs right now. Like, Thijs would need to have Equality, Consec to clean up the board, then heal himself back up to 8 to be safe from a second deckhand. And frankly, I'm not even sure that would feel sufficient. Now he's contemplating the Vilefin Inquisitor Spiker Steed. He's thinking, okay, so I'm getting 12 health worth of stats, of taunt that is, with the extra 3 on the Vilefin, so 15.
Still thinking if it was correct to leave the deck on the board. I don't know. It's 2 damage that you might lose if your opponent has a Consecration, but at the same time, if he has Consecration, nothing else, there's no way he's gonna win this game anyway. So.
To be fair, at 15 health worth of taunts, it's definitely not too bad. I mean, that's the most you're going to get against this warrior. And if Ragnaros Lightlord comes out next turn, I actually think Zalae has a shot. I mean, it has a chance of dying and losing here. What are you giggling, Lothar? What's making you giggle?
I just saw the, the live
head.
broadcast. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
right.
we got caught.
All right.
Real good.
All right. What happened in the game, actually? No.
Well, Spectracy was played for 15 health worth of taunts, is what I was saying. I was talking about these big dinosaurs, and the fact that they're blocking our Pirate versus Murloc expansion. And it looks like the Stegodon's actually going to do a ton of work here, as it's going to be soaking up all the stuff on the board. And Rag Lightlord with Stabilized Tice at 13 health, which doesn't save him, granted. Because he knows that he's dead on board right now just based on this. There's 14 available. He goes up to 13. So he's going to have to find another way to survive, and this is not...
Noble Sacrifice into Peacekeeper? No.
Actually, Noble Sack into Peacekeeper... No, you're still dead too.
No, you're still dead, because then the 1-2 or 1-4 will attack into the Noble Sacrifice, and that's just enough.
Rip. Bottom right, buddy. Bottom right. I guess there's a chance Zalae miscalculates. And you just play Rag Lightlord and he thinks he's at 12 because he just forgot an extra 2 attack. That's your only chance. Playing Hydrologist for a chance at Noble Sack doesn't even matter. So that is going to be it. Zalae takes it in, of course, yet another favored matchup. His lineup is extremely well built against Dice's.
Oh, definitely. I mean, with the Quest Rogue in Tice's lineup, that Pirate Warrior had a win in his pocket already. So, doesn't really matter against who does his win, right? In this situation. Now it's just, let's see what will happen in the future. Because now Tice has to make a difficult decision. He knows that the Pirate Warrior is already backed out. Does he want to commit into the Rogue right now? I feel like it's okay. Like, it's still a conquest.
You could
right?
try, honestly. Like, no matter what, you're gonna have to win with it. Might as well just jam the worst matchup. The Paladin might just be the closest thing you're gonna get to a good matchup anyway. If you're gonna be the Rogue player. Like, you don't want to be left up against nothing but an aggro Druid. You're gonna get melted. You're going to get completely melted. No. It seems like he does not care. That opener for Zalae finally finds something to do with these Murlocs of his. I feel like every single time I watch him play, he just finds nothing worth playing. But in this case, not a bad hand. Picks up 2 1-drops, has the Cold Light Seer to go with it, so he can buff his little Murlocs as they come out. Of course, the best draw for him here would be, on paper, a Rockpool Hunter. There's also Valfin Inquisitor that's not half bad, because he can always set up 2 1-drops at the same time. So if he goes Vilefin, Tidecaller, Vilefin, sets up for a really good Cold Light Seer.
What to do?
For Tice is a different decision, though. To be honest, I think that going for a hero power this turn is just strictly better than any other option. Because you play around the Rockpool Hunter, which might
loses
be
you the game, actually, sometimes, right? So.
And we had a situation like that in the past, where the opponent just didn't want to coin out and kill a Murloc on turn 1. Tice goes for the Wild Growth. Okay, I mean, there was no Rockpool Hunter to punish him.
Well, Zalae is basically being telegraphed that there's going to be a Jade Blossom, so he knows that his Valfin Inquisitor is not going to do very much. He knows he's going to get that Cold Light Seer out as a 3/4 to buff the Murloc, and he knows that Megasaur is going to be uncontested on turn 4. So Zalae's got information as to what's going to happen, and he's very happy to hear this. When you see Coin Wild Growth into Jade Blossom, and you've got this board, Yeah, you're celebrating.
Well, this just spirals out of control pretty fast. Thijs has access to swipe, but does it really help here? Not really, because one minion. Still, Megazord on curve is something you always fear, especially if we'll get poisonous or +3 attack. Actually, +3 attack is pretty
+3
insane.
attack is completely nuts here, honestly. I feel like the decision by Thijs to not coin hero power, like a rogue player would do it very often. You know, it's one of these cases where rogue would just set up a dagger, but the thing is the rogue gets the extra, ping from the second hit, which is a huge deal, having 2 charges on that hero power. Whereas Druid is coining out the hero power for nothing but a single damage to kill 1 Murloc, which plays around specifically Rockpool Hunter and not really around anything else. And now Thijs finds himself in the contemplation of a potential Blessing of Kings, potential Megazord. No matter how he looks at this, these options are all awful.
Yeah. I mean, Blessing of Kings is actually a bigger blowout than Megazord here in this situation. And Zalae plays 2 of those. Huh. Well, he needs to commit to another play, a passive one, ramping up so he can play Primordial Drake next turn. But it's definitely not looking great. And he sets up the Drake as well. So Zalae knows what's going on.
Yeah. He's got all the info. That double Megazord turn gives him so much freedom.
There's
+1/+1 seems good.
I have to be honest, I feel like Poisonous now is more important. You sacrifice one of the Murlocs.
Okay.
But because Primordial Drake will be the case next turn, right? I mean that's the thing that Thijs was setting up for. So if you get the Poisonous, you sacrifice 1 minion, but in this case your opponent might just not play it even anyway. Because why would you play Primordial Drake to be dead by a 2/4, right? And you can even get Divine Shield next turn with the second Megazord.
Yeah, I guess so.
But
I just really like the amount of pressure this puts on, because you can still get the same outcome. Like next turn, what if you just find yourself, an extra +1/+1, then you can combine the 3 attack minion with the Megazord and still keep pushing. So there are like a few combinations that let you still go through that Drake, assuming it comes out, even if you take +1/+1.
That's true. Alright, but Thijs makes a board right now.
Oh my god. Alright, 4/7's big. But is it big enough? Because there's a really good argument for Zalae here to not, commit to this if he doesn't think he can control the board completely. Never mind that. Oh my goodness.
That's +3 attack. Which allows to... Okay, I would need to see the board again. Man, the 4/5 will become a 7/5, so he can kill the Behemoth. Then you will get a 5/5 and a 6/3. So if you're gonna push for everything, that's actually 16 damage. So 4 off.
With this board, I mean, I'll take my 4 off any day.
Well, your opponent has a Primordial Drake in his hand.
But you've got Tareem, so
yeah,
all is fine.
Exactly.
Right? 1 mana off of doing some really nasty thing to Zalae's board. Unfortunately for Thijs, Swipe is coming in a little bit late to the party. A little bit early, that is. He's missing like another Innervate or another Mana Crystal naturally.
And when you think about it, all this was probably meant because of the fact that all of this was a consequence of Thijs not using his hero power on turn 1, even though he used the coin for the Wild Growth. But killing the Chum was super crucial because he committed the Wild Growth into the Jade Blossom. That was like, you can't really change your mind after the Wild Growth.
Yeah, I think that's really I mean, there was the potential of just going for coin Wild Growth into hero power turn 2 into turn 4 Swipe. That's another line that sometimes works out when you expect there being a War Leader, so suddenly you have to change gears. But when you've done the coin Wild Growth and committing to Jade Blossom, hoping to set up a Swipe afterwards, you're letting the Murloc deck, if it finds the right draws, you know, take a few free turns on you, and that's just not something that you can recover from in this spot. And Zalae's got the perfect answer to this. The Sunkeeper Tareem reads Battle Cry, deal 5 damage to a minion, basically. Finishes off the Drake, and lets this little Megasaur swing once, and Thijs is down to what for the win here? Not Aya. There is no win.
I can see.
Well, the Murlocs do what they do best. They gank up and go in a group. That's what they did exactly this game. 3 Murlocs, that's what it took. And 2 dinosaurs. But still, this is the exact way the deck wants to play. So, good draw from Zalae. Kind of passive play by Thijs, which might have resulted in a loss in the process. And now he is facing actually losing this entire match, although not being knocked out of the tournament because he will just be playing against the winner of the next match. So still not that terrible, but why would you know, be in that spot, right? But
yeah,
he needs
the worst part too is that if he, like, imagine Thijs goes down to the losers bracket and wins, he still has to face off against Zalae afterwards, and Zalae just showed how dominant his lineup was. So it's not something you'd be looking forward to again if you're Thijs. Definitely not. You want to eliminate him now so that you don't have to deal with it later. And Zalae, an interesting build, by the way, of the Aggro Druid. We didn't really highlight it, but he is running double Vow Teacher, double Fledgling, double Bittertide Hydra, and 1 living mana. So a much slower type of build than you'd expect out of Aggro Druid. But these double Bittertides against Jades, or against Druid in general, can get completely crazy.
Well, he needs an innovate.
I guess we'll use this Firefly in this play. This is pretty sick.
You can play just double minions this turn for the Flame Elemental as well.
I mean, this works super well too, because you can go double minion next turn into coin Mark of the Lotus, and protect your patches at the same time. Never mind.
Unfortunate turn of event. Maybe the fact that Zalae didn't want to play the Flame Elemental on turn 1 as well is because then he telegraphs a buff. Like an example, you know, Power of the Wild or the Mark of the Lotus, and that might push Thijs to actually kill one of the minions. So I think that's a decent decision. But now it's kind of awkward. You would like to keep the coin for one of the Hydras.
I think he might just go for the slower play of keeping Mark of the Lotus for next turn. There are other minions in the deck that cost very little, right? So you could always fetch that. Your turn can also change at any point. If you pick up Vow Teacher, that Mark of the Lotus could be kept for even more impact. So that's a good Jade opener for Thijs, though. He's down to 1 card and is playable on the next turn. So,
but
put it into
Zalae,
perspective, that's insane.
But Zalae can actually go for 5 minions and upgrade it to all of them, so that's pretty decent as well. Unfortunately, the patches wasn't the hand. Sometimes happens, but still manages to keep his Hydras in hand, and he will be able to play them on curve. And when you think about it, what does Druid do about them?
Nothing. They've historically been good at doing nothing against big 8/8s on turn 5, or turn even earlier than that sometimes, turn 4 in this case. I remember the mirror match of the old school Aggro Druid with Fel Reavers. First guy to jam the Reaver just destroyed the other player. It happened very frequently, so this is probably a repeat of this, and the Bittertides are kind of behaving like that. Even against Jade, they have the same blowout potential.
But now the question is, how do you want to trade this? Even if you want to trade it, you might actually sacrifice the 2/2 into the 2/2.
I think double 2/2 into 3/3 is fine, since they're the most likely to get value traded. Okay, you're gonna let him take the value trades anyway. Sure, let's go. Fair enough.
The only bet outcome would be a swipe here.
Yes.
So I don't blame Zalae for just not playing around swipe. There was one card in Thijs' hand. I like this.
That's a pretty sweet board state for Zalae going into that Bittertide turn, though.
feel like this turn you just rather commit to the Fandral hero power, kill another minion, than to play Behemoth. It's more power, but Fandral kind of makes it like super awkward for Zalae to deal with it. He would need to forego everything else and just sacrifice the minions to kill the Fandral. And that means you will still have a taunt in the upcoming turn. At the same time, Fandral in the hand means that if you top deck Feral Rage at some point, you will have a removal and a life gain.
At the same time, yes.
Yes.
Which is extremely important here. And now Zalae's looking at his hand and he's like, okay, these 1 health minions I could just deal with my health total by using hero power, but I've got no good way to utilize this mana. I swear this Jade opener by Thijs was crazy good. Getting 4/4 Jades by turn 6 behind a Behemoth after a double ramp is completely nuts. I think you still have to commit to that Bitter Tide. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
If he has to trade everything into it, then so be it. You just have another one afterwards. That's the best chance you have. And the cool thing, too, is that because you've got the Bot Teacher, you've got a refill potential and a second Mark of the Lotus later in the game. You can always pick up an Innervate with Power of the Wild. There's a lot that could happen between now and the next turn for Thijs. So Thijs has to pick up Wrath or Feral Rage. Oh, my goodness, that draw.
That is a really decent draw. Now he's able to clear up the Hydra and still mitigate the one attack, while dealing 6 damage to his opponent's face. That's pretty sweet. But I was thinking about actually sacrificing the 4/4 instead of the 2/1 and the 3/1 because what they do, they represent an ability to trade with 2 minions instead of just one in one turn.
But you deal more damage to face right away, so you're clocking your opponent a little bit quicker, I guess.
That's the other thing. So in this situation,
Thijs is basically going aggro.
Yeah. Thijs is more aggressive than Zalae in this case, and Zalae might be pushed to just use the Hydra for cleaning up his opponent's minions, and that means he will be getting damage anyway.
I would ping that Hydra with my face here.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to, but I would have pinged that Hydra with my face every day. I would have set up a lethal on that Zalae guy. I mean, not that Zalae is not going to pull a trigger, you know, on his own lethal here, because he has to trade the Hydra away, dealing damage to himself in the process. So Thijs, knowing that, does not worry at all about the outcome of the next turn. And Zalae, you know, he lost the game, but let's be fair. He's got aggro Druid against Rogue left.
Yeah.
Can't feel bad about that one.
Exactly. So 3 games for Thijs to win, to get back the, you know, famous reverse sweep. I mean, still remember the times when it was King of the Hill, back in 2014, if I remember correctly, played on Arthos's channel. Was it Arthos's channel? I mean, Arthos was casting, but Thijs made a reverse sweep on Stripecrow from like being 0-3 deficit with
That's
his
back
Druid.
in the days of King of the Hill, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like on a 11 winning streak, 11 matches winning streak back then.
What a god.
That was kind of insane. But now,
the god of Druids. But now he's on the Rogue. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have to play a patch his hand on Quest Rogue against aggro Druid. So I'm not a pessimistic person. You know me, I'm very optimistic, generally speaking, but this is not looking very good for Thijs. This hand, the fact that his opponent's on the coin gets to just jam minions faster than him. Thijs looks like he's going to be on the back foot for a long time this game.
If Zalae will get an Innervate and will be able to just play that vicious fledgling on turn 1, that's game over already. Still, turn 2. It's kind of insane as well. Forward Wild. Well, Raven, turn 1 into turn 2 fledgling.
I like that against Rogue. I think Thijs might be playing backstabs. And if
I'm actually not sure.
Oh, no, he plays Tolvirs. I believe he plays Tolvirs. He's one of the players that brought Tolvir to the event. RDU had them too, but he was also running the
RDU had a
backstab
1.
package.
Had a 1 Tolvir. while Xixo is running 2. So
Oh,
that's the difference.
Xisto is playing backstabs? Interesting.
No, I'm saying 12 years.
Oh, 12 years. Okay, I thought you meant you were speaking of
No.
backstab. Sure. Sixto's playing the more 12 year of the players in the event for sure. It's
And
been
I
a
would-
popular tech. At the time the decks were submitted, I'm not sure if it's the trend anymore, but at the time the decks were submitted, they were pretty good.
Yep. I would love to see the Fledgling Prime. It's just such an OP card if you just can jam it before its time, basically. And this is turn 2. It's basically that. Especially against a quest rogue, who would have to sacrifice a deckhand in this situation, or a backstab if he has it, even. But Zalae commits to something else. Alright.
This is actually a very big tempo loss for the rogue player, because the quest rogue is relying on that 2-mana investment early on to carry them forward and seize the tempo of the game by trading away small 1-drops into yours. So by doing this, if the rogue ends up daggering up again, you're in a perfect spot to get a good Power of the Wild. And if they play minions, you're still in a great spot for Power of the Wild. So I like this line of play from Zalae. The Fledgling unlikely to die at any point the next few turns. So very, very good heads-up play here by Zalae. That Bloodsail Raider, or Corsair, that is coming in handy. Not a card I'd ever thought would see competitive play, to be fair. But
To be fair,
you know,
yeah, I had the same opinion. But I guess Patches does that to people, so...
So what? What if the only pirate left in the game at 1 mana was Bloodsail Corsair? Would we see him everywhere? That's the question. That is the question.
I have no answer. But Zalae did commit to display, and he needs to go for the Power of the Wild in this case. Still sets up a nice, pretty board.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stop
So
that as
much
rogue.
damage.
That quest rogue can simply not do anything to it. Zalae is untouchable here.
Well,
Completely untouchable.
prep vanish can happen. That's the only thing. And that's still fine for Zalae, because he just... Still, those minions dealt the damage, they can still be replayed. Even if they are like 1-2, those are still big enough to threaten Savage Roar
Sure.
next turn. So Thijs needs to kill them again, and that's not that easy. So he is not looking really great in this series.
Yeah,
Top
I mean, if
deck
they...
Savage Roar. Nope.
Even top deck Bitter Tide. Frankly, at this point, it's all options open for Zalae. I believe Zalae is not running the Murloc package, so he's really just on the aggro Druid without the Finja package. So he's getting less of the bursty swings he can get in the mid game, but he's got consistent mid game with a double Bitter Tide, double Teacher with a 1 living mana. Has a lot of those, more expensive options, and less of the synergy that you rely on for Murloc. So this deck, once it's on the board, oftentimes just doesn't get shaken up. There are no Bluegill top decks that lead to nothing. You always have something to do.
Leaving
like
mana
that.
as well. Holy moly.
I-
That's so much gas.
Kind of risky card against Quest Rogue, given
That's true.
Vanish, but it's a refill-ish if you're desperate.
There's a prep. A little bit help in this situation. Plays around top deck Savage Roar in this situation and allows Thijs to set up a little bit of the board, but at the same time, he's not really looking great into completing the quest. Because he's, like 1 point on the quest? With that Novice
Yeah.
Engineer.
He's done
So-
no quest completion. He's been behind the entire game, and frankly, it's not looking like it's going to change for a little while. He has the option, of course, of going for that Prep Vanish, as you mentioned, but it's like... You reset, and then what? So Balfin Tynhunter technically can stabilize him after the Vanish play. I mean, clearly. Yeah, he knows he's forced into that position. He's going to replay Novice, hoping to pick up some kind of wonderful play.
You can get another vanish
Bile
next
Fin.
turn.
Sure. Another Bile Fin, another Vanish.
Yeah, that was
Special
needed way
Shard
before.
is pretty good though. It's very helpful. You got if you pick up a Shadow Step off the draw, you can freeze up the enemy board and then maybe find a way to mount an assault or counterplay. But I wouldn't put my hopes on it.
So Zalae is now in a tricky spot. He would like to set up a lethal next turn, right? So what he should read from the hand that Thijs had is that there's no easy way of dealing with the multiple creatures. So living mana seems like a decent option, especially after one vanish being played already. The problem would be, of course, the second vanish. Going wide doesn't guarantee lethal, and that's a problem because what he can do is just put 3, 6, 7 damage guaranteed next turn if everything lives and deals the damage. Because the fledgling doesn't guarantee the Wind Fury. But there's still a lot of cards that will be helpful next turn to deal the damage. So an example, Savage Roar, top decks, any buff, Mark of the Lotus, Power of the Wild. So there's a lot of options in the upcoming turn.
Right, Thijs with 3 minions to freeze has the option of freezing at least 2 of them for the time being, but it's not gonna feel very good as he's still behind in quest completion. Effectively nowhere near a quest completion at this point. He's gonna have to reset it all. Go for the Glacial Shard, use that minion as his quest minion. He has to try to protect it behind Bile Fin, perhaps, but I mean that's a stretch. You could just patch his board, patch his weapon, kills a minion. You can start wearing down that board and relying on your Glacial Shard to stay alive against the big stuff.
And he's still lacking another bounces, so that's the problem, right? And without getting another bounce next turn, he is looking to be in a terrible spot. He needs to get a Shadow Step, he needs to get a Brewmaster, he needs to get a second Ferryman. Second Brewmaster actually as well. So if you deal 2 damage to your opponent's face this turn, you can use a hero power as well, so your opponent will be at 5. And then Ferryman will be alive to kill the either the Direwolf Alpha or the Fledgling. You know there's a Glacier Shard in the hand, so it will stop the Fledgling most likely from attacking. So if he kills the Direwolf Alpha, only 1/2 will be present on board. That means you'll still have not enough damage to kill him next turn, but you're going there slowly. Like the worst case scenario is that you're gonna attack him with 3 hero powers in the upcoming turn.
Right.
That's gonna be it.
Right, unless you can taunt up on top of freezing your stuff all at once, which really the mana count does not allow Thijs to really do that unless he picks up Shadow Steps. So he'd have to have like Prep Mimic Bot into a minion with Shadow Steps available to just keep freezing repeatedly. Barring that, there's really no chance for Thijs to really stall the aggro coming up. In this case, though, Thijs has the ability to use the Ferryman and the Stone Tusk Boar, as we spoke of, to keep freezing. In this case, he's actually able to protect the Glacial Shard behind the Bile Fin Tidehunter if he wants to. He's seen the crab, so there's no risk of it just getting eaten up.
Well, there's a second crab, right?
In the deck, yes, but I mean, after he's seen it played on the board for no reason, or if for the sake of development, he's feeling a little bit more safe here. But his quest completion is still 2 bounces away.
And that's horrible, and that's an opener for living mana for Zalae right now. That is the opener. Your opponent needs to top deck the second Vanish to win this game, or to have the chance to win this game, most like to win. But playing just Hydra is not good enough, because then a single bounce guarantees your opponent to stop the minion from attacking.
Yeah, but then if he bounces the shard, then you can kill the shard, and his quest is done to 0. Well, my God! Okay, pick up another shard. The bounce wouldn't have worked, but another shard just might.
I mean, it's still like bounce would still give the option to Thijs to top deck the second shard next turn.
Oh, that is insane. So it's really the Glacial Shard draw it's better than the bounce in this case.
Yes. And he can still get the bounce next turn.
So there's one more shard needed to get this quest online. And I was always looking at this like, really? Do I really? Is there a chance I actually lose? On the flip side, if he plays Living Mana and gets vanished, you know, a few of them are going to end up back in the hand. And he's not going to lose all his mana. He'll still have 2 left over with Innervate, so he'll be able to redevelop onto the board even through the vanish. The big issue is the freezes start kicking in, and everything feels awful. Savage Roar almost wins whenever he finds it. Almost.
Well, let's see what will be the next draw for Zalae. But now he needs to commit it to the Living Mana, like 100%, if he doesn't get anything better.
I mean, if you Savage Roar, you probably try to set up a Letho, maybe.
But you still have mana for both.
Oh, that's convenient. You reduce the amount of living mana you're putting on the board, so you're only losing 5 mana crystals in the event of a vanish showing up.
Well, alrighty. That makes it awkward for Thijs. I don't believe he can make it out of this. So, okay, let's say that Zalae plays Living Mana and gets vanished.
It's fine. Zalae still has 3-4 mana left over with Innervate, so he'll have 6. He'd be fine. I'm pretty sure with 6 mana left over, you're happy. And that's the most useless card in Thijs' deck by a very, very large margin. And he will simply have to bow down to his new aggro Druid Overlords as the quest rogue fails to deliver a win against its nemesis. So Zalae is going to be, right now, waiting in finals to see who makes it out of the loser's bracket. Because that's where we're headed. The winner's side of the first portion of it, at least the winner's bracket's been completely rolled over. Now we just know that we have Zalae in the finals of the last chance. So we need to figure out who from 6-0 and Kalento is going to win the first loser's match, and then that player will fight off against Thijs, and then that player, whoever wins that match, is going to be fighting off against Zalae. So Thijs could still replay against Zalae. There's a potential revenge here, lined up. So we'll see if that happens. In the meantime, we'll be taking our short break, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.